Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a ranking video. We're going to be ranking the Friday the 13th movies from my personal favorite to least, well, the opposite way. We'll be going what I think is number 12 to what I think is number 1. And remember, this is just my personal opinion, so don't leave me death threats in the comments and on social media. This is my personal opinions on these. You can like whatever you want. It doesn't bother me. So the criteria to these is going to be based around the overall value of the movies, how entertaining it is, the quality of the characters, and of course the kills, and how memorable and how many like good ones there are in said entry. So with all that said, let's get into the rankings. Alright, at number 12 we've got Part 5, A New Beginning. This one right off the back, obvious mistake is Jason isn't in the movie, but that isn't really that big of a deal. But his replacement is Roy, which most people probably first time viewing this had no idea who the hell he is by the end of the movie. And just the plot with it being set up with him being, crap, I can't even remember the dude's name. Joey. Yeah, Joey, the one kid, the chocolate kid. The whole setup with him being his real father, it was just out of nowhere, and it's kind of illogical. Like, no one in this small town knew about that, and just so happened he was there when he showed up to the scene. It's real. You get what I mean. There are some good things I like about it, though. You know, I really enjoyed some of the kills. A lot of them were really cut down and just like cutaways or above the camera stabbings, but there's a couple of them that were decent. And also, you gotta love Reggie, the little boy. His supersonic, high-pitched, girly scream, that's one of my favorite parts. The outhouse duet between his brother and his girlfriend. Gotta love those damn enchiladas. And most importantly, I love how hilarious that this whole movie is all because of the chocolate bar. That's right, this movie happened all because of the chocolate bar. Vic kills Joey because Joey keeps bugging him about his chocolate bar. Let that sink in. Friday the 13th, Part 5 is all because of a chocolate bar. Alright, next up on the list at number 11, we got Part 3. And I know some of you aren't going to like this, but this one, I honestly find it kind of boring, and it's basically a repeat of the first two movies. It uses that cheesy, gimmicky 3D shots overly, and it's used way too much, especially since these days we are not able to watch it in 3D, so we got all these weird shots of people throwing a yo-yo in the camera and stuff, and just really strange to watch these days with no proper 3D format yet. And yes, this is the one where he does get his mask, which is one of the ups of the movie. But other than that, it's really slow. Again, it's basically a copy of the first two. And also, there's probably one of the most horrible acting out of the whole franchise in just one scene in this movie. Alright, up next at number 10, we got Jason Goes to Hell. This one would have been ranked a little bit lower. This was originally my 12th spot, but I looked at, this movie does have some really great kills in it, and there's a couple characters that I really like in the movie, and at least there's some decent acting in it. Right, first off, we have characters such as Creighton Duke, the badass bounty hunter guy who's hunting for Jason in the movie. I think he's a pretty cool character. Then you also got all the blood and gore, such as the David Cronenberg-esque body melting body horror scene later in the movie, as well as the one scene in the tent where the girl gets ripped in half. And I understand what they were trying to go for here with trying something different, but you know, it ended up being a fail. It didn't work out as they planned, and felt like they threw just a whole bunch of backstory into this movie that has never been mentioned or shown before, and it just made it a whole mess and didn't turn out so good. Alright, up next at number 9, we got Jason Takes Manhattan. This one, big issues with it, not just because of budget. The budget had a big role to play with the mess of this movie, but just there's so much more than just the budget. First off, it's pretty much a blatant lie. Jason is on a boat for the first hour or so, and what we do get of Manhattan is a few shots in Times Square and then in the subways, but most of it takes place in Vancouver, taking the part of Manhattan. And just most of the setup with it seems just really convenient and not logical, with the Crystal Lake being connected to the ocean. Then you got the convenience of the guy on the boat at the beginning having an exact replica of the Jason mask, axe mark and all. Also, as they drive over Crystal Lake and shock Jason back to life. And plus, again, another problems with a lot of these movies, the kills were toned down a bit because of the MPAA, and so it's just a whole mess. And this is the one where Jason apparently gains the ability to teleport, as he's seen being in one place and being somewhere just a whole second later. Some pluses are, like I said, there is a few scenes where Jason is in Times Square and it's pretty cool to see. And then we got the scene on the rooftop with the one dude, having trouble remembering his name, the boxing guy, where he's trying to box with Jason basically up on the rooftop of this building and just punches him continuously, and then Jason takes his head off with one swing. Well, like I said, not much to this to get it any higher in the rankings. It's a pretty bad one, especially even though this is the second time Kane Hodder's in the role of Jason. There's just so much. The stupid scenes where there's like the hallucinations of kid Jason, then the toxic waste element at the end there that makes no sense at all. Right, up next we got at number 8, Freddy vs. Jason. I know this might not be some of you guys wouldn't rank this as high on the list, but there is some redeeming parts that do save the movie. Number 1, there's a good at least 20-30 minutes of Jason and Freddy together fighting, which basically puts it in this spot all alone by itself. But then you also got the kills, which are really good, which I'll get into here in a second. But first, the reason why it's still so low: terrible characters for the most part. The characters just make it so hard to watch. They're just awful people. And then the choppy slow motion effects that are scattered throughout the movie it makes it nauseating to watch sometimes. Because this was actually the first Jason movie I've ever saw when I was a kid. Which at the time it wasn't that bad, but that's because it was the only Jason movie I had seen at the time. But now, as an adult, I see that it's one of my least favorites. So back on top of the kills are fairly decent. We got the kills such as when Jason in the beginning of the movie folds Trey up in the bed backwards like a V. That's one of the kills I remember most from watching it as a kid. Then you also got the kill where Freebird is possessed by Freddy and he ends up getting cut in half. That was another pretty decent kill. And you got the little head decapitation where the one dude's dad loses his head. He fell asleep or something. But one of the parts I find hilarious, he's holding his dad's head, and he puts his dad's head up to block the machete when Jason swings it down, which I always thought was hilarious. But other than that, it's one of the worst parts. Like, Jason being afraid of water, like, yeah, we all know Jason is afraid of water. He's never been in the water before. No previous movie has shown Jason in the water because he's afraid of it. Alright, now we're getting to that point where it's kind of moving out of the bad territory into the it's okay, mediocre territory. I'm going to start off that at number 7, going to be a controversial to some of you, but we got Friday the 13th Part 2. This one, you know, it's basically the first movie just with Jason instead of Pamela. Again, there are some redeeming qualities, you know. There's some memorable moments, some decent characters. Like, Jenny is one of the better final girls in the series, I would say. Which, with how she approaches fighting against Jason with the psychological stuff and all that. Making him think that she's his mother by putting on the sweater and all that, you know. And there is the one character, Mark, in the wheelchair. He ends up getting killed with the machete, and he falls down the stairs in his wheelchair, and it's absurd, and it's great, and I love it. And also, again, this is the first one where we see Jason as the killer. And another plus, we got a couple returning characters with Alice and Crazy Ralph, which they're the first two killed off, though. Alright, now moving on to number 6. We got Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. I ranked this one at number 6 because it's an okay movie. It's the first time we get to see Kane Hodder in the role of Jason, which, in my opinion, he is my favorite Jason. And his look in Part 7 is one of my favorites. You see right here, got a little figure of him right here from Part 7. But the way his mask look, how it's all tore up, then his clothes are all torn up. You can see his rib cage in the back, then his face, how it looks when the mask is finally removed. And also, this is the movie with the sleeping bag kill, which is some people's favorite kill. There's still some characters that, you know, you don't really care about. There's a few that are decent characters. You know, our main girl here, Tina, she's a telekinetic, and, you know, she's one of the better parts of it, especially at the end when she's fighting Jason using her telekinetic abilities, which the creators described as Carrie versus the Terminator, pretty much, because there's some good parts there, and with Kane Hodder and his physicality and willing to take bumps playing Jason and all that. There's a part where she telekinetically throws a decapitated head at Jason, which is pretty great. Then there's that fire stunt scene with Jason, where Kane Hodder does the fire stunt scene as Jason, which at the time broke a record, I think. For longest time, a stunt performer was on fire in a movie, on film. Again, there are still those flaws. The kills were cut down, again, by the MPAA making it at this ranking spot. Then the ending with Tina's zombie dad, which he doesn't look like a zombie. It's still one of the stupidest endings to a Friday movie I've ever seen. Alright, I got a probably more than likely controversial choice here, but for number 5, we got the original 1980 Friday the 13th. See, some people may say that this is the perfect movie, but in reality, it's not. There's a lot that can be improved on here, which they did in some of the movies after it. Because, first off, this was even said to be clearly, by the creators, a blatant ripoff of Halloween. And also, you know, the slowness of it, and, you know, you don't like any of the characters at all. And there's a lot of the kills. There's pretty memorable kills throughout it, which I'll get into in a second, but a lot of them, there's a few below-the-waist stabbings that are under the camera. But the plus is there's some memorable kills, such as the one with Kevin Bacon's character, Jack, where he gets the arrow pushed through his neck and all that. And with the effect for it end up going wrong, made it look even better because they had to blow the blood out of the tube, and it just made it squirt out and made it look 10 times better. And then, you know, you got the kill where Marcy gets the axe in her head, which is another memorable one. Then, of course, you've got the scene where Mrs. Voorhees is decapitated, which I find it funny when she has her hands up like, oh no, I've been defeated. You can see that it's clearly not Bessie Palmer, because it's clearly a man, some hairy arms. Alright, getting even more controversial here, because at number 4, we got the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th. Now, just before you say anything, let me explain. There is some decent parts to this movie. Jason is made scarier and more realistic with how he stalks his prey and will torture them, all that stuff, and use them as bait for the others, making them scarier, and how he'll full-on sprint and just brutal. But, like, you know, it's still number 4 on the list because it has some flaws. You know, there's the normal there's the normal stuff that you'd see in all the other Friday the 13th movies before. There's the nudity and the campside, lakeside setting and all that, and stupid characters. And there's a lot of excessive nudity, which I think they went a little overboard on it. Well, kind of. Depends on who you ask. I don't mind at all. I know there's some people that they make too much of a big deal about it, but I don't mind it at all. And there are some fairly scary moments, such as in the beginning with the sleeping bag scene where the girl is being hung up by the sleeping bag, is being cooked alive in the sleeping bag over the campfire. And another big plus, we got Jared Padalecki in it. Of course, he's known for playing Sam in Supernatural, which is one of my favorite shows that's ever been made. But all in all, it's a fairly decent movie and a retelling. You know, there's also the comedic relief with the 1-2 characters. But all in all, it's a fairly decent movie. It's watchable and somewhat enjoyable. Alright, now I'm just digging myself a deeper grave here, because at number 3, you guys ready for this? We got Jason X. Now, I know some people may hate this movie, but I actually love this movie. This one is one of my favorites, because, you know, it's made out to be a silly meta movie, and you know, that's what it is. That's what it set out to be, and that's what it is. It's Jason in space, and it's as ridiculous as it sounds. That's what it's supposed to be. There were some memorable kills in it, I thought, and some scenes such as Jason fighting the android KM and all that, then Uber Jason. You know, it's the 10th movie in the franchise. I mean, what else can you do? Alright, up next we got Part 6, Jason Liss. For some of you, this might be your favorite, but you know, this is a second. Coming in second isn't that bad. Alright, so this one, you know, is when Jason, he becomes a full-on supernatural zombie killer, basically, which is one of the best parts. And there's some memorable, funny moments in this, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which it makes it good. And it's not the worst music to be in a Friday the 13th movie, because you remember all in the original, that open scene when we meet 3 of our characters, because this time in Jason Lives, you know, there's a lot of Alice Cooper on there. And there's very memorable moments, likable characters, you know. Tommy is decent. This Tommy is the one I remember the most, besides the one on our next entry. But as for it goes for adult Tommy, this is the Tommy I think of is Tommy and Jason Lives. And, you know, there's actually an open camp with actual kids at the camp with the counselors. And you get to see Jason kill counselors at a camp with kids, so it puts more terror in it, especially if you're a younger viewer watching it. Seeing these kids in this situation like that. And there's some fairly decent kills in this one too. Such as some people, I know a lot of people like it. It's okay, but for me, but during the paintball scene where he throws the guy into the tree and he's still holding the guy's arm and it's ripped off and he falls down and there's a smiley face on the tree. That's ridiculous and I kind of love it. And you also got the triple decapitation in that same paintball scene. Plus you got one of the most badass ones there is after he kills the two in the RV and it flips over on its side and it's on fire and he comes out and he's on top of it looking like this badass anti-hero or something. But overall, this is one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies. Alright guys, editing Zach here, so I forgot the add-on about Here with Jason Lives. This is also the Jason that is thick AF. He has that big old thick booty. Just thought I'd throw that on. That's also another reason why this is the number 2 spot. So, thick mad cake Jason. Alright, and finally at number 1 we got Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And yes, this has a similar style and setup as the first 3, but it's the best way of showing the same formula as the first 3. There's some likable characters, some decent, memorable kills. We got young Corey Feldman playing young Tommy Jarvis. And then you got the scene with Crispin Glover and his character and his just crazy ass dance moves. They turn on this like 80s metal song and he has these crazy ass dance moves and I love it. It's great. And this is the first time that Jason was actually killed in the series. This is the first time he was officially killed. Because at the end of this, he is dead. And he doesn't come back till part 6 when he's resurrected as a zombie. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video of my ranking of the Friday the 13th series. Just remember again, this is my opinion of what I think are the worst to best of the Friday the 13th series. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or on social media or something, what you would personally rank them. Enjoy the video, please leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you're already not. And until next time, guys, be good and stay spooky. Bye.